So welcome everybody, my name is Paul. A lot of people know my videos. I've been making a lot of videos over the years about a lot of different subjects, and I introduce a lot of very controversial subjects that I've done a lot of thinking about and reading about. And what I thought I would do is I'd introduce a series of kind of a teaching, things that I've learned over the years, and I present it out there in a lot of little nuggets like YouTube segments. It's very hard to teach anything this way, and but I'm going to try. And I welcome people to look through all these videos and just slowly start to piece together your own perception, because one of the problems with these days with all the internet, and there's so much information out there, and a lot of people just, you know, there's too much information, so they just say, well, I can't think about that, or this must be absolutely wrong, or whatever, and they don't actually investigate the subject themselves. And I don't pretend to be an expert on anything, really. I'm just a person. I'm coming along here trying to learn what's going on in this world, the planet that I live on, my life, and so on. And I got interested in a lot of very interesting, deep subjects, very young in age. For example, this book here, the Upanishads, one of the great books of all time, in my opinion, started introducing the subject of like other kinds of perception, the kind of human awareness that we all have potential for, that there's more to this life. There's a lot more to this life. Each person listening to this, there's a tremendous amount more to you as an individual, what you can potentially experience in your life and even know, not just believe. But you can know things, but you have to do the diligent research and try to put it together, you know, and have an open mind. And, you know, there's been testimony about many fascinating subject for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize. I mean, they go to school and they figure out, well, okay, history is such and such, and maybe they don't even know the history of their own country, let alone what happened a long time ago. So we get busy with our lives and we don't have the time, but we don't know. So that's where other researchers come in. People like myself, I grew up, I read all kinds of books, I still keep doing research on these very, very fascinating, controversial subjects. And in my videos, I present a lot of very, very controversial opinions. But I'm not a stupid person. I'm not like someone who just believes everything they read. I think a lot about stuff, and I've studied a lot of different subjects. And the one thing that has to be humbling to all of us, if we just stop for a minute and think, our perception, I don't care if you got 10 PhDs, our physical perception that human beings have is like a tiny little, like looking at the universe through a straw. Because we see in a certain frequency range, we hear in a certain frequency range, all our senses, the ones that we use most often, are subject to some severe limitations. Then that puts us into like, okay, our thought process, how intelligent we are, but I don't care how smart we are, if we don't have enough information, real information, to put together, then we can't make an educated opinion, really. I mean, for example, the subject of astrology. A lot of people, they say, oh, that's really silly. But they never read a book on astrology. All they do is they hear about stuff, and they don't really know what it's all about. But apparently, ancient people for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years thought the cosmos and our timing in the cosmos was important. And they said so. So where does that come from? Were they all deluded for thousands of years? So, again, here's another subject, UFOs. The idea that there's some other kind of being out there besides human beings that we can't see or we don't have a lot of contact with really freaks people out. But stop and think about this just logically for a minute. All it takes is one real UFO, whether it is our own, whether it came from here, whether it came from Mars, another solar system, another dimension, whatever it came from, however it is, if it exists, if there's something real about it, it changes everything in our perspective. It has to, because our history. Now, you think about other people in other cultures declared, yes, there are other kinds of beings. And then the fact that you have a human body, all kinds of beings have a human body. And this is something that is not new information. This has been written about in many, many books. I got this book here, Treatise on Cosmic Fire, which is just an absolutely, this will blow your mind. You just have to read it like 100 times in your life to even get most of it. The Light of the Soul, how to manage your mind and thought process, the ancient history. There have been records kept in secret places because why? Why do they keep it secret? Because guess what? Over centuries there's wars and all kinds of catastrophes and so on. The people who valued important information, they had their own ways of keeping it taught. And it's just up to us to figure out, okay, well, what are these people saying? I mean, if there were cultures that were existing thousands and thousands of years ago, what were they actually trying to tell us? Or are we just going to take all their experience and just erase it and say, we're the only ones, guys? You know, like to think that way, that we're the number one, I'm sorry. You know, look, I'm going to get into some of these subjects in many of my other videos, but the main point is that I'm going to try to teach stuff based on what I've learned, the dots that I put together, and people could just say, okay, well, that's too controversial, but just give it a chance, look around. I'm not basing it just on my own opinion. I'm looking at other kinds of things and records and all kinds of teachings from around the world. And some observations. I do deep meditation. I have a lot of experience with that, and it's not something you really can talk about much, but just say, you know, there's consciousness. Our human awareness can be extraordinary. It is extraordinary. Being a human being, look at all the geniuses that have existed, all the prodigies that have existed. Every human being has unbelievable potential. And all great sages have taught about that in the past. It's not something new. But we don't, you know, if we spend our time just watching TV and just sliding through this life being entertained, then we're going to miss out on some really important stuff and really fascinating stuff. And the truth is, the facts are more incredible than you can imagine. You can't write this kind of stuff in fiction. This just kindly for a moment, just look at your own life. In order for our hand to exist, our breath to exist, our eyes, all that system to exist, the light has to be here, all the right chemistry has to be here. Fantastic amounts of incredible things are going on just so we can sit around here and discuss whether something is true or not. And what ancient peoples have said, and mystics have said, that look, our perception is limited. So faith, just take that for granted, okay? And you can know things by enhancing your own perception and listening to and understanding the teaching of people who did have, just like a PhD has a great understanding, say, of astronomy or something than me. I can learn from that person. No problem. I have no problem learning from that person. So why shouldn't we learn about the mystical side of life and the great mysteries of human awareness through the great teachings of the sages of the past? This is not a new thing. The fact that it's still ongoing for thousands and thousands of years means that there is reality underlying these great teachings, and it's just how to understand it. It's complicated. It's just complicated. The physics of our body are complicated. How everything works is complicated. But it starts with basic principles that are found in nature that we know about, mathematical principles, ratios, geometry, movements, waves, all that stuff. It all starts there. And we're going to explore a lot of that stuff in my videos. So I have to do little segments, like I said, just little sections, and put it out there and try to listen to different segments and put it together, and doing references to other materials so that people can just decide for yourself. Learn for yourself, not just what people want to tell you. Just take what they tell you and say, okay, now I'm going to do a little more research. And then you'll be amazed. I mean, just amazing stuff is actually occurring every minute. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll be putting out a lot more videos, and thanks again for all the good feedback I've been getting, and people are interested, and so I'm going to start doing more videos to see if people like them and enjoy them. So thanks again for watching.